Hi guys, it's Dale with the insurance. Today we're going to talk about an article that's that touches on a market that's been quite literally transformed, right? The title is, "Do I Need Rideshare Insurance to Drive for Uber or Lyft?" Right? And Uber and Lyft has just transformed the way we travel, right? So obviously the taxi industry, so people that drive taxis probably aren't that happy about it, but the customers are, because there's increased competition, right? Which is kind of lowered the price for essentially the same service, getting from A to B, right? And then drivers for these companies, for these kind of ride-sharing companies, are happy also, because you essentially get to be an entrepreneur, right? You get to dictate your hours, you get to dictate how much money you make, right? By how much you want to hustle, how much you want to work. So it's almost like a win-win, right? But the caveat is, as you could imagine, this disruption to an age-old industry threw insurance companies for a loop, right? They weren't used to really underwriting this type of risk, right? Sure, they were used to underwriting taxis, but that's slightly different from you and I using our vehicle to transport people, right? So I guess first and foremost, your personal auto insurance will not cover you while driving for Uber or Lyft, right? So let's address that, throw that out of the way to begin with. It just wasn't underwritten for that, right? Like, you're using your car or someone's car for commercial purposes, not the same risk as me driving or you driving to the grocery store or driving your kids to school. So your auto policy will any claim that you try to make while on the clock for Uber and Lyft, 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10, will be denied by your insurance company. That being said, ride-sharing companies, and Uber and Lyft in particular, do provide different levels, different degrees of coverage when you have their apps on, right? So when you have their apps off, you're not on the clock, there's no coverage. Pretty cut and dry. When you are on the clock, or when the app is on, you technically are on the clock. They separate it into different areas of work, I would say. So your app is on, but you haven't accepted a request from someone to pick them up, right? Because your app is on, you're on the job, there is coverage. It's the most slimmed down coverage. It's only liability. And oftentimes it's not the requested or the suggested amount for the different states suggest you to have. The other time that coverage kicks in is when a customer is involved, right? So you have your app on, you've actually accepted a request for someone to pick someone up. You're either on your way to pick that person up, or that person is already in your vehicle and you're transporting that person. The liability coverage then increases almost tenfold. I believe it's about $1 million. Whereas the liability without a person is about 100,000. The other caveat is the latter option. So when you have a customer involved, there is an opportunity to have comprehensive and collision coverage as well. That kicks in if and only if you have underlying coverage, right? So you either have, you already have that coverage through your personal auto insurance. Then Uber and Lyft will allow you or will afford you that coverage. As you could imagine, Uber and Lyft, they're not in the business of covering claims, paying out insurance, and their coverage reflects that. Their coverage is contingent, so it looks to see if you have primary coverage first. If you have primary coverage, then it allows that coverage to go ahead kick in, and then they will handle any overflow in claims if your limits weren't high enough. And then, as I stated with collision and comprehensive, they don't even provide that coverage unless you have underlying coverage, right? So I guess to back up and just squarely answer the question, do you need rideshare insurance to drive for Uber and Lyft? Technically, no, you don't, because they provide the bare necessities in terms of contingent liability. That being said, you would not have coverage for yourself or your car if you don't have any comprehensive or collision underlying coverage. So just to be safe, just to make sure you, your riders, any other drivers involved, any other people or property involved are all covered, having rideshare insurance is undoubtedly the way to go. Because then you'll have kind of your rideshare insurance, and it can be done as a standalone policy, but nowadays it can just be added to your personal auto policy through endorsement, because ride sharing is so prevalent now as an industry. So when you get this insurance, it'll be you'll have different layers of insurance. So you'll be certainly covered. You'll have your rideshare insurance as primary, right? And then you'll have Uber, Lyft, or whatever other ride sharing company you're with, kind of as your backup, as your secondary. So that way you've made sure that you, your riders, and anyone else or any other piece of property involved in an accident is covered. Hopefully this is helpful. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you next week.